Hi, it's Julie Upton with Legacy of Light. Thank you for showing up. Please hit the like and subscribe button as well as turn on the notifications so that you can get more videos as they come in through the pipeline. Recently, I had the opportunity to sit down and talk online with Karen Wade. Her website is puredivineessence.com, and she helps what she calls BOMs, quantum self-realization for BOMs, beings of magnitude. Karen herself has been on a spiritual path for a very long time until she really met her true self. And she's been integrating and expanding from that place of pure consciousness since that happened. So we're going to talk about what comes through. If you know me, you know that I don't like to pre-plan too much. I just meditate. I feel into what needs to come through, and then I ask questions from that place. In my perspective, that is what people must need and the vibration that people are going to resonate with on my channel. So I hope you enjoy the interview. If you have any questions for her or want to book an appointment, you can go directly to her website, which is linked below. I hope you enjoy the interview. I went to your website to kind of feel into you, but I wanted to, ground in to what's needing to come through.
Thing that arises as you're talking about it. You said you just read the website just to tap into me. It's the unified field. We were talking about that. Our meditation group, we have created a unified field, and our, Slack community, our cohort created a unified field. It's the power of that field. So when each of us has our unique essence, but when we come together, there's this synergistic effect, and the power of that unified field, you all drop into the space of the one heart, where we're all one. And the power of that field to effect change and to transform on all levels of creation. So within a seeming individuation, right out to, the all that is all, is huge. And the meditation we did on Tuesday night was all around that. And then Hema and their team they've got up on Slack that they were doing some MD work as well just after that. And Marina felt drawn to stop and connect in. She didn't know that was happening, but that's the power of the unified field. How strongly connected we are. And as we make these connections all around the world, this is what's creating the new earth. We're stepping into that unified field. And we're creating it. We're creators of it and experiences of it at the same time. And it's very powerful, and you tapped into that when you felt into the website. You're really tapping into my field, and then it's that unification that happens, the feeling into that.
And that's the bigger thing that we're doing, is that by tapping into our divine essence and really connecting to ourselves, then we can tune in with the others who are tuned in.
Yeah.
And then exponentially, people like Marina's experience will connect in and join.
Yes.
And then collectively that will happen. It feels like a domino effect, but
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So ultimately, it only ever comes back to self. By you being so purely aligned and anchoring that magnitude here, the power of your field then impacts people you meet, people that tune into you, people that view your work, people that cross your path without you even, there's nothing to do. And when you bring conscious awareness to it, and you follow your heart, you follow those callings of your heart, you then come across and magnetize everyone and everything that you're meant to come across and magnetize. And then they join into that unified field and they're impacted by you, and you have a sharing of codes through the field. And we create this network that just grows bigger and bigger and bigger.
So do you think it's worth, I mean, as people are in different places in that experience, there's so much kind of chaos and fear and lack and bliss and beauty. It's so, convoluted. And, I can feel people's like sincerity to understand this power greater than ourselves and to connect in to that source.
Well, it's an interesting thing because you can have the knowing that everything is taken care of, which is, it absolutely is taken care of. And so for someone like you and I who've been doing this spiritual thing for a really long time, you can have a little bit of that autopilot complacency come in. And it is a complacency in some regard. But I feel that to be consciously aware and consciously present and consciously choosing your highest tone or your highest frequency and maintaining your, and the only thing that is required for that is to maintain your focus in your essence, which taps you into that unified field. That's what we're here for. And when you do that, does any of that lack exist?
Nope.
You can't even touch it because it doesn't exist there. It only exists as you bring your focus to it. And that's merely a choice, and you can change it in like a nanosecond, your state of being. So it's as simple as that. That's the only doing required. It's to maintain, to maintain that focus until that's your permanent state of being.
Mm.
And
So,
the other thing that's been coming up a lot is what's being asked of me is to truly recognize in an embodied way the power of who I am, that we all are. So my creatorship, the creator God that I am. And to recognize that. And to know that I have actively chosen to be here to create the new. And to really stand in, it's like I know it, but to really embody that. And we're being called forward to do that, to stand in that. And to, even though our eyes are seeing the reality in front of us, to really be aware of what am I creating, to look beyond that. Where is my focus? What am I creating? Because we're not here to create anything from anything to do with the old. Everything's new. So only that can happen. That's the only thing that can happen. And so what I'm finding, everything to do with the old is falling away.
And what is the new? This is my curiosity. I mean, I have a sense, and then I have a logical sense. So I have an inner sense, an inner knowing, and then I have what feels like a logical knowing. And so I think that was my inquiry maybe to you, that first communication that I had. And that really is to help understand what that is. What is the new, and what is an example of what it looks like to embody that?
For me, I can feel the new feels free and unencumbered, expansive and free. It's a much higher vibration. And it's a palpable experience and a deep knowing of the feeling of the new. It's unified. It's oneness. And they're all just terms, but it feels very harmonious and very free and very peaceful and very abundant and just full of love. And they're all just terms. It's hard to put into any context, but there is a stark difference experientially to the old. If you feel into 3D and everything that is included in that package, there's a distinct feel to that. I know that's the old, and all the spirituality that went with that. That's the old. So the new is where there's no need to separate spirituality from anything, because it's just our essence. It's who we are. So it's just the norm. It's who we are, where people live in and from their pure essence. They live in and from that knowing that we are all the one, and that our essence is the same essence, and each has a beautiful, unique flavor of that they bring to share with everyone else. So it's the next evolution of here. And it's based on unity. It's what was seeded that came through the book, through me, that was the book that came through, called Truth Creates Heaven on Earth. That held unity consciousness. So you could say fixed density consciousness is unity consciousness, that oneness consciousness. Some call it the Christ consciousness. That came through in 2008. And it was seeded here in Australia through Uluru, for me, which feels like the heart portal, a portal to the one heart of all, anchored into the mother, who then out into consciousness here. And you look at the shifts that have happened since then. And the new is the physical embodiment, manifestation of that. So it's the actualization of unity consciousness. So people will live in that unified field of consciousness that we experience in pockets of people that are at the same frequency. We've experienced that. You feel the power of it, you feel held by it, you feel safe in it, you feel loved, you feel uplifted, you are transmuted, you are, can ascend through that. We're now experiencing it in pockets, but the new will be everywhere. It will be one unified field. That's what it is already. It exists already. And it's beginning, and the pockets here, we're bridging to that. So we're here for the build out of that, the creation of that, so that all those that choose to enter that will be a frequency match for that. And so can you imagine living in a world where, like, you think about the pockets of unified fields that we've created, that you and I have personally experienced, for the entire world? Just feel that. That gives me goosies everywhere. and that's it. That's what we're here for. And we hold within us the coding for that, And I know that what I'm experiencing at the moment is that with these BOMs I'm working with, those beings of magnitude, you're a being of magnitude, I'm a being of magnitude, and these BOMs, they're here for just that. They're here to create that as a physical reality. And because I'm already in that reality, when I'm in contact with them and I'm working with them, I've recognized that whatever coding that's meant right now for that space, call it an event space, it's transferred through my field into that space directly. That's a higher purpose of working with BOMs. But it's also like these BOMs are stabilizing in all that they are, so that they can anchor that here as well and share in their unique essence in their own unique way here, because they fully stabilize in all that they are. And that's all connected to the new. It's so exciting.
Now I literally am connecting, like almost like a mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's fun. For me, it's great. It's like what I was born to do. So it's
Absolutely.
not, it doesn't feel like work at all. It's like
play.
it's full play.
Yeah.
But now that it's funny the way you explained it, I felt it was all merged. So now I don't know. It's I feel more complete, if not complete. Like I get it. I was like, why am I still here doing so much physical work? It's so physical. And then I could hear Hema's voice. And I was like, well, all right, I'll just relax and I'll just do it. It's fun anyway. That's it. It's like
Yeah,
pure fun. It's
yeah,
just pure fun and it's my pure essence. It's just
exactly.
so anyway, I feel really super, super highly energized.
It's what we're here to do is to remember all that we are and then to anchor it here and bring it into the physical. And so it becomes a physical embodiment of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that embodiment of you is what's inspiring you to do all these things that you're doing. But you have the skills and your life has prepared you and you have the connections to create the TV programs. That's your passion, to create the apps, to do all that, to
Mm-hmm.
create the connections. And what a gift that if you're the connection maker and the transmitter at the same time, then you're creating the web, the unified field that gives people access to that field. What a gift. That's an amazing gift. So it's never, I'm just a transmitter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a
Thank you.
connector. I mean, it's
Just a transmitter.
zoom back and feel the bigger picture of all of that.
Feels good.
Yeah, yeah,
It as it should, right? It should
yeah,
be the best feeling in the world.
yeah. And that feeling just shows us that you're doing exactly what you're meant to be doing.
Yes.
And when the book first came through, it one of the inner guidances I got was to go to an old phone box, the old telephone phone boxes, and put the receiver on the book and intend that the unity consciousness go through the copper wire system of the telephone, because the copper wire, what's that word, conducts it or
Mm-hmm.
amplifies it, and to put it through the telephone grid of the world. Now that's a very physical thing, but that was, so I had anchored it into the heart of the mother so that it could go through into consciousness, but I was also anchoring it through a physical system that was already in place that was like a grid, a copper wire grid, That was before mobiles and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's very.
So, we're just utilizing the old or the known 3D to share and transmit the new. That's it.
That's it. It's true. That's it.
But it's not limited by those systems that you transmit it through. It will evolve those systems,
Mm-hmm.
transmute them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's to really, I hesitate to use the word own, because it's like there's nothing to own. It's who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But to really acknowledge and recognize your magnificence, the magnitude of self. Because when you acknowledge it, you said, and for me too, if we could have one theme for our spiritual journey, it would be allowance. Deeper and deeper and deeper allowing, and then being shown what you think you're allowing and you're really not allowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just take that allowance into this. Allow yourself to truly feel, embody all of your magnitude. Allow it to be known in a physical way. and experienced in a physical way. And we can do that now because we know the purity of our intent. And there's nothing outside of self allowing us or giving us permission. We're giving self permission.
Yeah, that's been a big one for me.
Yeah.
Giving myself permission every day, like you said earlier, until it becomes
Yeah.
automatic.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's getting better and better every day.
Because we've removed the barriers, the fears of misusing our power, being responsible, not wanting to commit, all of that old cracking, that's gone. No, that's done and dusted. So all the limitations that we impose on ourselves, we've cleared so that it can just flow. And the collective is calling it forward. And that's what's required to create the new.
I think that's a permission. I really just felt that the collective is calling it forward.
Mm.
Yeah. Mm. The collective is calling it forward. In India, they use the word duty a lot, like it's my duty, which in some contexts makes me like, eh. And in other contexts, it's like, ah. In this context, it's ah. It's like, yay, it's my duty.
I would prefer the word, it's an honor.
It is an honor. It is an honor. Oh, they use those two words together a lot, actually. I mean, in the old way, it would be like the military use. It's like duty and honor. It's like the upgrade of duty and honor in a way. But it is an honor.
Well, it's an honor in every sense because you're honoring self.
Yeah.
But by the remembrance and allowing all of self to be here,
Mm-hmm.
the magnitude of self to be here. And in doing so, it's an honoring of the collective. And it's an honoring of your reason for being here.
Mm-hmm. And is that what our experience as humans is, to honor our true selves and to bring it forward
Absolutely. Absolutely.
into the collective?
Yep.
And magnetize or magnitude or
Our true self has a magnitude.
mm-hmm.
It's not the body.
Mm-hmm.
It's not limited by the body. It's focused through the body, comes through the body. So, in that sense, magnitude is all that you are.
Yeah.
And yes. And that's what the book was. Truth creates heaven on earth. And all that means is when you remember the truth of who you are, that you are pure divine essence, infinite, eternal, and free. And when you remember that and you live from that, so that your every word, your every thought, your every action comes forth from that pure essence, that pure love that you are, then you do create heaven on earth. That's as simple as it is.
Pretty simple.
And if we all did that, we would all create the new earth together. So the ones that are doing it now are creating these pockets of unified field of living that way, which is then going to magnetize others until it's a whole new plane of existence. Where all are doing this.
So the people that you're working with directly, are these beings of magnitude, are they mostly always young, or are they of all ages?
All ages. So some have been on the path for a while, and a lot of them have felt like they've just done it on their own for a long time. Mm-hmm. There's nobody else. You would have gone through that. I went through that. For me, my process of remembering took a long period of time. But the young ones coming in, you know, some of them remember right from the get-go, but some have a moment where it's all just there. And it's like a holy shit moment. What do I do with this? What is this? So they can think they're crazy, or they can think, you know, they just know it all. And so it's those ones that I can, like my field, because it's stable and unified. And I can truly see them. It helps them. And for the first time, they feel like they're home, but someone finally gets them and sees them, which then helps them stabilize in what they are and accept it and know it's okay and it's normal and it's beautiful. And, you know, that their perspective of the world and how they see and what they know to be true is true. Because they know the new. They know they're here for that. They're already that. But they're living in a world that doesn't harmonize with who they are. So, yeah, they're here for that. And it's just beautiful to watch them finally accept all that they are and feel free to express it. And to show others, to show their peers and all the people they're meant to come into contact with how to be and live in this new way and not follow the norms of society. You know, not have the 9-to-5 jobs and the house and the mortgage and the 2.5 kids and the whole thing. They can have all that if they want, but they do it from this whole new perspective. But they're not on, they know they don't have to do that to manifest. They know they don't have to do that to earn money. It's a whole new way of being and operating.
So they can connect to their true essence and their true selves.
Yeah.
And move and live from that place.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, I don't know how it is in Australia, but in the United States, there's a conversation about young people. There's lots of suicide and mental health issues. Do you think it's because they're coming in with this knowing and then kind of being stuffed into this society that isn't in alignment with what they know to be true? You think that has?
I would say that's a good proportion of that would be the case. Not all of it,
Mm-hmm.
but there is definitely a good portion of that. For instance, I know a couple of the B.O.Ms I've worked with were labeled diagnosed ADD.
Yeah.
Some were medicated, and their systems are so sensitive and they're of such a high frequency that it's quite a shock to their systems when they're in a lower vibration, so their internal system can feel a bit like it's in that constant flight or fight mode. And and so just for those things, to learn why that's happening and to know that then they can use the source essence that they are to come and soothe their adrenal systems and their nervous systems. They can take control of that, and then they can learn how to operate here in the high frequency without having that physical response or reaction to it. That's just one tiny little thing.
Mm-hmm.
That can only happen if there's someone that's aware with them. But everything's perfect at the same time. So if they're meant to cross paths with someone that will help them that way, they will. If they're meant to have the experience of being medicated, they will. So it's knowing the perfection of everything. It's allowing everyone to have the experiences that they're having, knowing that they've, on a soul level, chosen those experiences, following your own conscious inspiration. If you're called forward. So for me, what was called forward through me was to create this program for the B.O.M. And it was the B.O.Ms that called it forward. So it's like saying, it's okay, everything's okay, but I've listened to that. And so now I've offered something that they can come to and find their way and stabilize in all that they are, so that then they can bring forward all that's called through them. So it seems like a paradox, but they both exist at the same time. And when you have a bit of recognition of the impact you have on the collective, on the unified field, on mass consciousness.
Yes.
Mass consciousness is a field of consciousness which is different to, and it is a field that impacts us all. When I'm talking about a unified field, I'm talking about a different vibration. But when you recognize that every choice, every action, every word that you as a seeming individual make impacts the whole. And when you start to have recognition of that, then it's natural that you take responsibility for that, because it not only impacts you, it impacts those around you and the entire collective. But that takes a certain level of willingness and awareness to look at self before that recognition can even come into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's all perfect, then that's where it really is a very self-driven. That's it. It's just me being concerned, not, me being concerned about my essence and allowing everything to be. But then my essence is like, oh, but I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it on camera. I want to talk about it loud and proud. And I'm talking about me personally now. Like, this is very interesting. where I struggle with that. I'm like, but it's fine. Let them have their plastic. That's how I feel sometimes. I'm like, it's all divine. It's all going to work itself out. It's not my business to tell them how to live their lives. It's like talking to a brick wall anyway. So I'm not going to get all like uptight about it. But then I feel like, but no, I really have to say something here. I'm just using that as an example because I do feel like there's too much plastic that is being created and there's not enough consciousness around it. But maybe that's where people's consciousness starts is, oh yeah, plastic.
So, so for me in those situations, it's always about checking in, where is that coming from? If it's coming from my head and a judgment, then I leave it alone. If it's a true inspiration that's coming from within, then I follow it. Because I know when it comes from within, it'll have relevance. If it doesn't come from within, it won't have relevance.
So when you check in with yourself, how do you differentiate between that?
It's a feeling. Because I know the feeling within. We all have it. We all, like if you want to take it right back to the beginner level, we all have an internal guidance system and you can feel it. You can just notice how your body feels and you can think of something or a question or an action. Let's say you've got a choice to make. You're at a crossroads, you've got a choice. You can feel inside. You think about one choice and you feel inside if it feels expansive or uplifting or opening or lighter or freer. And you feel into the other choice and it feels a bit heavier or there's contraction or whatever. You know that body's intelligence, your internal guidance is helping you know to differentiate. The head might go, oh, but that one, this, and this. And if I do that one, this, and this, then, never the head, chop the head off and just feel into within. So everyone has that internal guidance. So for me, that's become very palpable, very, very palpable. I have a very strong knowing, and I also have very clear connection with higher self. So I hear the words. So I can, if I'm at a choice point, I can feel into making that choice and the timeline that would evolve. Not necessarily the details of the what, why, where, and how, just the feeling of making that choice, what will evolve, and making this choice. And so I follow the one that's got the highest excitement and feels the lightest and the most open. Mm-hmm. But, in day-to-day moments, like you're having that conversation I referred to before, where one has a limited perspective. I'm always with self and feeling into, I'm with there, to feel what response wants to come from there. I'm not in my head. So that makes that bigger perspective available in the moment, every moment.
And then it's an accumulation of choosing the highest timeline that takes you directly to that higher self, higher timeline, higher perspective, higher vibration.
Yeah. And for newbies just starting, it's learning how to differentiate between the head and the heart and how to truly drop in and feel and listen to the internal guidance. And meditation's a beautiful thing for that, to just stop and to be still and to even just listen to the breath and feel the breath and follow the breath as it moves through the body. That can be a starting point. And we become connected with the body and feel into the body. And then it just evolves from there and keeps evolving.
Amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm constantly amazed. I like to look at the world like a child
Yeah.
and be very curious about everything and not know everything because I don't. I don't need to know everything. That's
No.
how I access my feelings because actually I think children do have a very keen sense of what, that's why they're so confident when they don't want something and when they want something, and yeah, so it's fun. And for
Yeah.
me, that's what I do. I just, my childlike wonder. Yeah. So how would somebody recognize when people come to you, when the beings of magnitude come to you, what have you noticed that are the points of connection to finally make that jump into seeking mentorship or help, or so that I'm trying to help other people, really tune into that part of themselves that feels there's something else out there, so that they can then call it to them, very specifically.
Well, from my own experience, way, way, way back, I felt like there was something missing. Like I had a big hole inside of me that I was trying to fill up with family, job, friends, activities, whatever. And that's what called me forward. Like a knowing that it's got to be better than this. There's something more, I'm just not sure what it is. And that started me on my seeking. I'm finding though now with the bombs, and that was like 30 years ago, right? So everything has shifted so much.
Mm-hmm.
And the bombs, the commonalities with them is they can feel lost, they can feel alone, they can feel disconnected. They have trouble trusting what they know to be true because there's nothing in their world that reflects that for them, or no one that reflects that for them.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like they don't belong, they're different, they can't fit in socially. And so they're common things. Quite a few of them have had hypersensitivities to different things. It might be to sound, light, people, crowded, busy places. And that has related to what I said before about some of those diagnoses about ADD and things like that. Some of them, the ones that are sort of in their 20s, they've reported they had problems with digestion and their bowels and things like that when they were little, because the foods and the energies of the foods and things were too much for their systems. So sensitivities to food is one of the other commonalities. But I have, they're sort of the common things. They know they're here to change the world. Some of them are even aware of their so-called gifts, which are really just them already being who they are. But people who haven't remembered that would label them as gifts. But they're not sure of how to use them, or they're afraid of them, or they don't want to be seen, let other people see them because they don't want to be judged as being any more different than they already appear to be, or a weirdo, as they often will label themselves. And they know they don't want to live life by societal rules. So they buck the system, some in a more obvious way than others. But they want to carve out a new way to be, but they don't know how to do that. So I could say that generally would fit them. And then you have the little tiny ones, the new little kids that come in. And so they don't fit the current school system. So we're seeing new schooling popping up, because they're calling forward that. Yeah. So it's just beautiful because they will call forward what's required, which will then build out the new. It creates the new because their essence calls that forward, and because the old systems don't work for them. They just don't work.
I really feel the divinity when you just talked about all that. Like, it really is perfect because there's that internal perfection that will call forward what we need.
Yeah.
And when we cease to put it off on someone else, that choice point, then our own magnitude grows and our own sense of connection and divinity becomes more obvious to ourselves, because that's where we are putting our focus. And so it just makes sense. And it within itself, it's a divine process. Like, it's so perfect that it's hilarious. Like, now I really am tuning into this, like, that we think that we can fix divinity, like, right? There's no fixing it. There's just tuning in and to ourselves and our own higher self connection purpose.
And acting from that place.
And acting from that place.
Yeah.
And acting from that place. And being diligent about it.
Yeah. Committed to it.
Committed. Yeah. I mean, I wavered for years because it was just like, I had that knowing. So I just was like throwing it to the wind. I mean, I was always doing what felt good, but like, it could have been more focused if I was like more diligent and didn't get so emotionally sidetracked because of my sensitivity.
Yeah.
So I think I really understand. I mean, the sensitivities and how easy it is to just look the other way, because it's so much easier when you get exhausted from like the kind of, but especially when you know that it's all fine. It's like, I don't know. It's funny. Oh, this is fun.
There's a lot of peace and confidence that comes with knowing that you've always got your own back. What people call their soul or their higher self is always running the show, whether we're aware of it or not. So we've always got our own back. Everything's always taken care of. And but when we finally align with that part of self, with that true self, and we follow that inspiration that comes from that part of self, then life becomes beautiful, because we're not running resistance to our higher self. We're aligned, and we're moving in alignment with that knowing. And then life, the magic of life, the mystery of life, the beauty of life all starts to reveal itself. And those synchronicities that we think are magical, you see, that's the nature of how it works. You know, that's truly higher self organizing it all the time. But you just become aware of it because you're now aligned with it.
And who wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
I mean, who
It's the
doesn't?
best.
It's the best. It's literally the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think it's amazing that the work that you're doing with these beings of magnitude, I mean, and people can work with you. Can you talk about how people can like work with you? Because I did just see this, that you do work with people via the internet.
Yeah. puredivine.com. And also on there, I do a meditation group every Tuesday evening in Australia time, 7 p.m. And if you're drawn to that, then you'd probably be a fit for that group. I also do one-on-one sessions with people. I can do those in person or like this via Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And I do retreats, 2-day retreats as well in my home. So there's many things, many ways if people are drawn to connect. They can all contact me through the website, puredivine.com.
Okay.
Yeah. The course is called Quantum Self-Realization for B.O.M, Beings of Magnitude, Here to Change the World. And the reason I've called it quantum is because that word came through. And it was just an internal thing that dropped in to call it that. But after working with the B.O.Ms, what I've recognized is they're actually quantum beings. So for me, if you think of quantum science, it's a whole different way of relating. It's different to our 3D physical laws. And the way it shows up in them as quantum beings, there's no linearity in them. So there's no process. It's like they'll see a limitation they've put in place and they bring their essence to it, and boom, it's shifted. And they're in this, on the new reality. And they have no reference to where they were before. And then they'll shift again and they're in a new timeline of self, and they have no reference to how they were before. They can't even go back to how they were before. And it's only if I reflect it for them, they go, oh yeah, but there's no connection to it. So they shift quantumly, and they move quantumly. It's instant. It's just like boom, boom, boom. And if they're, another good example would be like in a meditation, if we were connecting to Mother Earth, most of us would imagine a connection, which is like a linear connection. So the bonds I've been working with, when they explain their internal happenings, they're instantly Mother Earth. They become it. There's no connection to it, like a tether. They're just it. So this is the quantum aspect of them. And so now I'm recognizing the perfection of that word, because quite a few of them have said what attracted them was that word, quantum. It's the vibration of that word that they relate to. So by me following my inner guidance to use that word to describe the offering, quantum self-realization for B.O.M, that's it. And it's saying with the word B.O.Ms, you know, the term star seeds or star seed children have been thrown around a lot. And it was like I didn't want to use that term, star seeds, for some reason. And I was just sitting on the beach one day, just pondering that. And again, what dropped in was beings of magnitude. And I said, yes, that feels more true. Even though the other is true, that felt more relevant for me to use, beings of magnitude. And then when I wrote it down, I went, oh, they're bombs. I just saw the acronym. And then that was true as well, because they really are the bomb. You know, they're the ones that we've been waiting for. They're the bomb, you know. So it's beautiful how that all just fell into place. The perfection of it, and just listening and following, not questioning. Yeah.
I appreciate you so much. Everything
you
you
too,
do,
darling.
everything you are, and your full magnitude.
And you too, Julie.
Thank you.
I can really feel what you're creating here, and I can feel into what you're creating with your connections and your networks and your shows, and you're a major, major contributor to creating this unified field. I've got goosies all over my body when I feel into what you're creating. It's just so beautiful. And such a gift, like you're such a gift. By you just being you and following what's exciting. It's beautiful.
It is exciting.
Yay.
Like, I get it. It's super fun. Like, honestly, that's all I have to say. It's like, do what's super fun and then don't have fear about it. It only